morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 491. Yes, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. And it is a very cool morning here at the Beaver Lodge. When I woke up, it was 3.5 degrees Celsius. So not sure how warm it's going to get today, but it started out brisk. Let's put it that way. I'm your host, the Beaver pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, who I learned yesterday at around 7:45 in the morning, because I decided to sleep in, that he had to do his best to recreate the show.
Yeah.
So, my friend, I am thankful for you. Good job.
It was very strange. I got up and I went to program it, and I'm like, where'd our file go? Actually, where did last week's shows go? The only thing from last week was Monday's show. That was it. Everything else is gone.
The file went the same place my glasses went.
Apparently. So I spent yesterday, my plan was to narrate, to finish a book and get another one halfway through. And I ended up spending several hours, about 7, trying to convert Thursday's show to a usable format. Several attempts, several software crashes. I finally got it done. Friday's show I haven't even bothered with yet, because to turn it into the audio-only version, right? I haven't even bothered with Friday's show yet, because I'm like, no, after that, it was like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
I have a life to lead, and I have work to do, and I didn't get any work done yesterday, so it was a bit of a write-off. That's my load to bear.
Oh, God. That is not,
Not fun. No, definitely not fun.
No. So, almost like no good deed went unpunished.
Yeah.
Ugh. I am so sorry to learn of that. And I not only sympathize, I empathize. I know what that feels like all too well. It's been a few times I've shown up for the show, and it's like, hi, kids, all the notes that I took over the last 24 to 36 hours just vanished. So let's wing it. But thank you so much, kids, as well, for being you're wonderful and accepting, and you roll with it like we do, and you appreciate the work anyway, as I see here in the chat, regardless of whether we have to tackle tech gremlins or something weird going through the stars. Or even if we're just not, we personally are having an off day. But you always give us the love. So, and that's one of the things that Mr. Grizzly could not recreate from the show that we had recorded, because I had started by saying, not only asking Mr. Grizzly how his mental health was doing today, but for what he was thankful. And so you didn't get to see that bit. But when Mr. Grizzly asked me for that, for which I was thankful, of course, good health and, my family and, wonderful, wonderful Beaver sweetie. But, for you, right, the kits and cubs, the damn fam, because as you know, if you've been paying attention over the course of the summer, it's been a little heavy. And well, knowing that I had this daily appointment with such a wonderful and group that gives me so much, I like giving the information. I like doing the work. It was my hobby. Now I get to share it. So, I love that. But I selfishly get something from the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, it's not completely altruistic. So,
Wouldn't expect it to be.
No,
We're
didn't
only
have
human
expect
after
that.
all.
Yeah, didn't expect that, but very happy it happened. So, you're like the you're breakfast. You're an essential part of my day. So I'm grateful for you, and of course, Mr. Grizzly, as you know, always and ever grateful for you, because without you, none of this happens. Right?
It's not such a big deal. I'm easily replaceable.
Anybody, maybe more than anybody, can do this type of tech in terms of producing a show, but not the stuff that you do when we do our live pop by our live casts, and not what you have when you contribute what's on your mind and what's in your heart. So it's you're to me, you are essential.
So this is not a lightsaber. This is it's supposed to be an effect light. It came free from Temu, and it turns out to be about 23 cents worth of materials. It is so cheap. I can't believe it. But it's designed to be an effect, right? But it doesn't cast any light. It just, and see, the green light gets eliminated by the green screen. It's supposed to be an effect light for the room, and it doesn't do anything at all.
Right.
So I was just trying to add to the ambiance, if you will, and it does nothing.
So there you go, sir. So thank you.
You're welcome. I got another cam set up here.
All right.
I'm using the phone as a camera now too. So I can...
Oh yes, nice. So just a couple of things I wanted to touch on from yesterday's show before we get to this one in earnest, because we were talking about pharmacare for a little bit, and there was one thing that I had noticed when Peter Julian was talking. At one point, they were asking about whether or not they will keep the Liberals in power long enough, right, for those deals to be signed. Because Peter Julian, Mr. Grizzly, you had pointed out one thing as well with the sick leave. That he said it was the first sick leave in Canada, and it's like
that's not true.
Like this, we now have sick leave of up to 10 days federally in all federally regulated workplaces. I guess so, not just the public service, but all the federally regulated workplaces as well.
There you go. That was the word I was looking for. I couldn't, like federal, and I was just stumbling for it. But federally regulated workplaces, correct? Yes.
Yeah. But he was trying to say these are two separate. They're not two separate issues. They're not separate issues. They literally go hand in hand here. Because the other thing that Peter Julian did that was very, very dishonest was claiming that it's up to the federal government alone to get those deals with the provinces, and that they can be done in 2-3 weeks if the federal government really wants to. Now, it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
There's someone on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
There might be some people. Alberta and Quebec have already said that they're not interested, and Peter Julian was fair in saying, there are some that will not do it because, of ideological reasons. I think Quebec is more like they have a plan. I think they have a more fully developed plan provincially for this kind of stuff. Alberta has a little bit of a plan. I'm not familiar with both of them, but I'm pretty sure from what the little bit I did understand is that the Quebec plan is more elaborate than the one from Alberta, and they don't want to, they say that they have their own program, so they want to opt. I've heard different versions, like they want to opt out to. They're just going to. They're going to actively oppose in some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Alberta's, just like give us the money and don't tell us how to spend it, type thing.
Don't worry, we'll invest it into pharmacare.
Right.
What, $80 million in Tylenol that wasn't even usable?
Well, as she's destroying AHS, right?
Yeah,
So,
intentionally.
no, please give me the money. Don't tell me what to do with it. I think not. So, but it's not up to the federal government alone. So the NDP is now in a weird position that if they want these deals, they want this to actually survive, because the deals have to be made and then they have to be used long enough by the people to make it such that if the Conservatives come in, let's say they win, they come in and they want to take it away, it gets much harder to take it away. So if we go into an election before deals are signed in a good number of the provinces and before it's operational for a certain while, I don't see what the NDP's got.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was, that they, they really got the Liberals to do this. It's like, well, you walked away from the deal, so the Liberals didn't have to complete it.
Mm-hmm.
Liberals could have just said, well, you know what? This is going to cost X number of money, and Conservatives keep on saying that we're destroying the budget. So now that we don't have to do that, let's just not do that and just say we're going to use that. And wow, look how much better we did.
What they did was they held up their end of the agreement.
Even though the NDP did not.
Correct.
So the NDP can't say they forced them.
No.
And now the NDP is saying that they're going to force them to sign those deals with the provinces. I don't know how, with what leverage. The Bloc has already said that if it doesn't get what it wants by the 29th, it's starting to side with the Conservatives, which means is that the Liberals no longer have the choice of one or two. So it's not like the NDP can say, well, we're not going to support the government on this one, knowing that the Bloc will. The Bloc won't now.
Well, this is true. The one saving grace here, though, is the fact that the Bloc is no fan of Pierre Poilievre. Like none. Like zero.
Or same.
They can't stand how he tries to iron fist his way through everything. They really, and especially when it comes to Quebec, right? He tries to kowtow to Quebec, but Quebec knows better than that. They know nobody likes him.
Mm-hmm.
They know who he is.
Yep.
So the Bloc will. I'm sure they'll make concessions. It's like if they're not going to look, it's politics. If we don't get exactly what we want, we're going to bring down the government. Something tells me there'll be some negotiations going on in the back rooms.
Oh, yeah, there's always negotiations. But, the Liberals can afford to tell the Bloc to take a hike. I mean, the Bloc is asking the Liberals to take a $16.1 billion commitment over 5 years in order to get about 1 month more in government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is why they voted against it.
Like, come on. Sweeten the pot, buddy. So, I mean, it's not all a loss, right? If you're talking about the whole issue of intergenerational fairness, it's not like the Liberals are doing well with the youth vote at the moment. So I guess them saying, no, you guys have a big enough portion already. This money is going to them. That can turn a few votes. So he has different paths strategically. If he doesn't he's not. It's not like he is cornered and he has to do what the Bloc says. He's got other avenues and other ways that he can play this. And I think the Bloc knows that, and that's why they use their opposition day early to do that type of thing, because it's Jagmeet Singh that gets put in the corner now. the Bloc has already used their opposition day. I believe the Conservatives have used at least 2 or 3 now. And so at least before we go away from Christmas, the only other party that has one is Mr. Singh, the NDP. So, there's a little, again, of the sort of like, we did this, and, a little not being completely fulsome with the truth here. And as Mr. Grizzly pointed out on the show, it's not like the NDP doesn't have a history of this because, well, daycare in Kelowna Accord, anyone?
Exactly.
Or Jack Layton said that he would go to the wall against the corporate tax cut.
And did not.
And then, had a little meeting with Stephen Harper one-on-one, say, hey, if you give me a couple of things on the budget, I'll ditch these two. And Harper sent him packing. I guess, and then when he went back, apparently, according to his interview with Gilles Duceppe recently, it's like, yeah, we can't kick him out of the deal because every time we negotiate a little thing, he'd run to the bathroom, pick up the phone, start calling some journalists and share what we talked about. Agreed. So,
there's a lot of integrity lacking there.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I get it. It's politicking, but come on, man. Show some spine.
If you want the program, you stick around long enough so that the program is implemented and takes root, and it will be painful or costly for someone else to do something wrong to it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't really care about the program. I guess, and you can't turn around and say, well, we've been talking for this, but the Liberals never do it, because same thing with daycare. The NDP used to say that, and then the Liberals did negotiate a daycare deal with Minister Dryden back then, Ken Dryden, with all the provinces and territories. And then they pulled the plug on it. And then when the Liberals promised it again, then the NDP ran, well, they always say they'll do it, but they'll never do it. They did it. You killed it.
Yeah. Convenient forgetfulness. So.
There's some things with the NDP every now and then on the framing of this stuff that because they're trying to present themselves as Canada's progressive option, they're a little fast and loose with the truth. There's a bit of a kernel of truth in there, but a little fast and loose.
They're bending it as far as they can.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you've got Pierre Poilievre, who is all over the web saying that 90% of Canadians are already covered with private plans. I'd like to have a fact check on that, especially since Statistics Canada says that's about, last check, I think was January 2024. They said there's about 20% of Canadians, according to that. There's numbers like between 18 to 23, depending on which study you look, that sort of
say. Have no coverage whatsoever?
Yeah, have no coverage.
And then there's a large swath that are underinsured.
Yeah, exactly, as you were mentioning. So, and then he's taking the line that the Republicans used in the United States when they were protesting against the ACA, when President Obama said, if you like your plan, you get to keep it, which wasn't totally true in the end. But he's saying the same thing, that people will have to give up their private plans. No. And it's like, well, first of all, let's for the contraceptives and the diabetes medications and supplies that will be covered under the pharmacare, they'll be covered 100%. So show me a private plan that covers those things 100%, number one. And come on, man.
Well,
remember it's purely an American line imported here, and there's nothing in the bill that says you can't have it. And I guess, I mean, we already have health care, and there is supplemental health care insurance. We literally have the model already. It's like nobody has to give up their supplemental health care insurance because we have.
Remember, it's for the uninsured and the underinsured. So you don't have to give up anything.
Nothing. So it's just kind of, he's just saying anything right now. So, and finally, unrelated to the whole pharmacare stuff, because you were looking for Christine Sinclair's degree, Mr. Grizzly, it was in life science.
Thank you. I couldn't find it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I had to actually ask the Google assistant what was her degree in. So there you go. Now,
Charlie Angus had something to say.
yeah. So before, I hope you all had wonderful Thanksgivings and that you are surrounded by good food, good friends, good times, lots of laughter. You ate lots, slept well. Now, you take a couple days off for a weekend. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Shit happened. Let's see what Charlie Angus had to say.
This I thought was interesting. Charlie Angus
and this.
regarding Poilievre's statement from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre for immediate release.
We'll
Charlie Angus's commentary on that. Poilievre on foreign interference is like listening to a troll on sports talk show demanding this coach be fired or that lineup be traded. Fact is, Stornoway boy doesn't have a clue. He refuses to get security clearance. He has no interest addressing the threats facing Canada. I thought that was pretty heavy duty.
Yeah. So,
and of course, he made it about himself.
Well, of course.
Did you want me to read the?
No, not just yet.
Release. I have it here.
We're going to read that, but yeah, not just yet because, like I said, we're for our audience. Technically, we're introducing it. You'd have to be living under a rock, I think, to have not heard about it. But let's just assume you haven't. The RCMP, the commissioner of the RCMP, came out the other day, and well, if you, I sent you a link there, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
it. You can start it at the beginning. They released a statement, and basically, I was going to read you the statement, but then when I saw this, the commissioner of the RCMP starts out by actually reading the statement. So they're their words, so might as well hear it from them, right?
Okay. It looked like it was a Zoom call, and almost everybody had their camera off at the beginning.
At the beginning, yeah. And so the thing gets reframed at one point correctly. But
over the past few years, and more recently, law enforcement agencies in Canada, including the RCMP, have successfully investigated and charged a significant number of individuals for their direct involvement in homicides, extortions, and other criminal acts of violence. In addition, there has been well over a dozen credible and imminent threats to life which have led to the conduct of duty to warn by law enforcement with members of the South Asian community and specifically members of the pro-Khalistan movement. As a result, in February 2024, the RCMP created a multidisciplinary team to investigate and coordinate efforts to combat this threat. The team has learned a significant amount of information about the breadth and depth of criminal activity orchestrated by agents of the government of India and consequential threats to the safety and security of Canadians and individuals living in Canada. Despite law enforcement's action, the harm has continued, posing a serious threat to our public safety. We reached a point where we felt it was imperative to confront the government of India and inform the public about some very serious findings that have been uncovered through our investigations. There's a violent extremist threat in Canada that Canada and India have been working on over the years. However, these threats are impacting Canada and India's ability to collaborate. Earlier this week, RCMP Deputy Commissioner of Federal Policing made attempts to meet with the Indian law enforcement counterparts to discuss violent extremists occurring in Canada and India and present evidence pertaining to agents of the government of India's involvement in serious criminal activity here in Canada. Unfortunately, these attempts were unsuccessful. Therefore, Deputy Commissioner met with officials of the government of India alongside with the National Security Intelligence Advisor and Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs over the weekend. Through our national task force and other investigative efforts, the RCMP has obtained evidence that demonstrates 4 very serious issues. 1, violent extremists impacting both countries. 2, links tying agents of the government of India to homicides and violent acts. 3, the use of organized crime to create perception of unsafe environment targeting the South Asian community in Canada. And the 4th, interference in democratic processes. Investigations have revealed that Indian diplomats and consular officials based in Canada leveraged their official position to engage in clandestine activities, such as collecting information for the government of India either directly or through their agents, and other individuals who acted voluntarily or through coercion. Evidence also shows that a wide variety of entities in Canada and abroad have been used by agents of the Government of India to collect information. Some of these individuals and businesses were coerced and threatened into working with the Government of India. The information collected by the Government of India is then used to target members of the South Asian community. This evidence was presented directly to the Government of India officials, urging their cooperation in stemming the violence and requesting our law enforcement agencies work together to address this issue. The RCMP is hoping to address these threats through our relationship with the Government of India and the National Investigation Agency, with the end goal of strengthening the safety and security of the Canadian public and South Asian community. The safety and security of our citizens, regardless of their background or belief, remains a top priority for the RCMP, and we will not tolerate any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of communities of individuals in Canada. We are seeking the public's assistance in reporting incidents of foreign interference by the Government of India. Anyone who feels threatened online or in person should report the incidents to the local police. If someone is in immediate danger, please call 911. Individuals can also report to the RCMP National Security Information Network by calling 1-800-420-5805. We recognize the concern and fear people might be feeling when seeing this news, and we recognize that South Asians are victims of these activities we're investigating. We want to assure all Canadians that their safety and security is at the forefront of everything we do, and we urge the public and South Asian community to remain calm and give law enforcement, Canadian officials time to continue discussions. While the RCMP does not generally comment on investigative matters to preserve operation integrity, we will keep the public updated as things developed. Thank you. Je vais maintenant passer en français.
Okay, there we go.
This
So we'll stop that for a bit. So,
I got one comment to make here though. It's the tech in me.
yes.
Okay, forget about how bad that they might record that meeting,
Yes.
but couldn't they have leveled the camera out to make it look like it's not a Batman's villain's lair from the Batman TV show from
Yes.
the 60s?
Yes. I hear you. Minimal effort, please. Some production
Yeah,
values.
yeah.
So Canada had expelled 6 diplomats from India upon hearing this. And you get this news, and it seems that some of them, potentially even the actual High Commissioner, was involved in stuff. A few days ago on the show, we reported that the Prime Minister was at the ASEAN Summit and had met face-to-face with Prime Minister Modi of India. It was only the second time they had time face-to-face. It wasn't an official meeting. It was sort of like just a pull aside. And they chatted a bit, and it seemed that did not go well. I would assume, speculation, based on it not going well, that it may have been the Prime Minister of Canada informing the Prime Minister of India that we would be seeking for the Government of India to cooperate by not invoking diplomatic immunity for the people, because that did come up later. Don't know when in the process that happened, but that could have been it. Because then yesterday, the chargé d'affaires within India had actually gone there. Now, I don't know if he made the request as well at that point, but apparently he was sent packing, literally and figuratively, sent packing from the meeting and was told to get out of the country because the Government of India expelled 6 Canadians as well, right? The tit-for-tat stuff. What the RCMP has to say is important, and yet it is still very, very, very cryptic, right? Because there are ongoing investigations, that type of thing. There are threats. There's been extortion, there's been homicide, there's been that, but by whom and by what and in what context, and who's behind it and how many, how many, and are some still in the country and all of that kind of stuff. That's all, yeah, right. There's so much you could say. So it seems there's something terrible on, and it's terrible enough that they have to go outside their usual process. They have to take this extraordinary step to do this, and they're saying that they are doing this in an effort to break the pattern, just to give a shock to the system, to break it up a bit, to make whatever is inciting this level of organization and criminality, alleged criminality, can be interrupted. I don't know for how long, but can be interrupted, at least for now. And along the way, there are people that have been warned. And then the questions again, how many people, and all this stuff is kind of murky. They're either numbers that we can't give, or numbers that you can give an about, but not precisely. There was a Q&A session after, and I'm going to play a couple of questions and answers. A lot of the answers always come with some type of caveat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can't say this, we can't reveal this. But they do try to tell us what it is that they can say. So, Mr. Grizzly, if we can go to about 20 minutes and 29 seconds, I think is the first bit. Yeah.
Just a moment.
And that question will go to about 22:51.
Just a second here while I line this up.
Sorry, that was my fault, Kits. I had written it down, and we have a private chat that we can send to each other, and I had typed it, but I forgot to press send. So that's why I had to say it out loud, or else it would have been queued up already, because he's good at this stuff.
Medium press. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear.
Wonderful. I'm wondering, first of all, if you can start by telling us whether all the confidential information related to this has been passed on to Marjorie Og and her foreign interference inquiry, so that she can make recommendations on this.
What I can say for that is we've had, as you can appreciate, that because there's ongoing investigations and the public forum in which the inquiry is being held, it would not be appropriate for us to share information that could put at jeopardy the investigation or any criminal charges.
Follow up, Laura?
Following up on Marika's question, when it comes to accountability for some of these folks, can you help me explain to people what avenues you have to hold India and Indian agent and officials accountable when it comes to more than just the bit players who are on the ground? What are the challenges, and what avenues do you have available to actually mete out that accountability that you talk about?
So there's a number of law enforcement actions that we can take. Charges or criminal prosecutions is an option, but it's not necessarily the best option. That's why, for example, we created this national task force, which is comprised of, it's a multidisciplinary team comprised of a number of federal government agencies, which has a focus on investigating and prosecuting, for example, Khalistani violent extremism, and also foreign interference by agents of the government of India. Now, I mentioned investigations and prosecutions. That is an option, but it is a whole of government issue. It's a whole of government strategy, and therefore we could apply other disruptive measures to mitigate the threat. The objective here is Canada's public safety, and therefore sometimes prosecutions and charges are not the best option. Our objective is to disrupt the networks and to stop the violence in our country.
All right. So, a lot of people, you're going to hear a lot of chatter on web, right? social media if you're on it. Oh, now can't wait for the report from India from the Public Inquiry Commission because they're going to have this. This stuff is not going to be in there. It's currently under active investigation. It's a public inquiry, so right. It's not time yet. So that's not now. The public inquiry is quite aware of a lot of stuff that India's been up to. So India will be included, but this particular stuff may not be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is a much bigger story than it's getting credit for right now, and I say that because there's just so much tertiary evidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that this is not just a Canada thing.
No, it's not.
Right. Remember last November, I think it was, the order of things was that the Prime Minister had some type of face-to-face with Modi. It did not go well. He came back to Canada in the House of Commons, made the claim. The government of India lost its mind. Conservatives took the side of India.
Of course they did.
Right, doubted the Prime Minister. You don't have proof. How can you make this? You're ruining our reputation, our relationship with this, with them. You're terrible people. And remember that time you went to India and had a costume party for 8 days? Oh, you horrible human being, right? That kind of stuff. And it's like, it can't be true. Nobody's supporting us. And then, well, a couple of days later, Australia came around and said, here's something. And then at the end of November, I think around the end of November, the United States Department of Justice released an indictment.
Well, you see that there's Pierre Poilievre.
And the High Commissioner right next to him.
And this guy right here, the High Commissioner right beside him, this guy in the red tie on Poilievre's left, he's the guy who's been expelled.
Yeah, one of the six.
One of the six.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
what I'm saying is, I'm not even making an accusation here, okay? Please understand that. Please understand that. It's the business of government to deal with diplomats and high commissioners, of course. Except he's the leader of the opposition. He's not the leader of the sitting government. So why was he there? That's my question. Why was he there? I mean, shouldn't it have been the Prime Minister or, somebody, a prominent member of the Liberal Party, because they're the governing party? Shouldn't they be attending something like this? If it's a diplomatic meeting of some type, a diplomatic event, like why is Poilievre there? I'm just asking that question.
Mm-hmm. That looks like it was a community event for Diwali, not a diplomatic thing.
Okay.
For Diwali.
So why was he there again?
Well, I mean, he is trying to do the outreach to that community specifically. And he was at other events just this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I know. All I'm saying is, why always him? Why always only him?
Well, I mean, the Prime Minister right now is a little persona non grata.
No, I understand that.
I understand. But I hear you.
Deputy PM,
I hear you.
There's Melanie Joly, there's Anita Anand.
Exactly. But the whole government of Canada is really at this point.
Yes.
But I mean, he's always showing up.
Yeah.
So yes, he was at
Navrang
Navrati Festival over the course of the weekend, and then the largest Dussehra celebration as well. So I mean, this is what Pierre is doing. He's going. I mean, we can show some photos. I mean, like I said, the guy's not dumb. The guy's not dumb at all.
Well, he knows how to politic.
Right? So a lot of people are asking questions about timing of this announcement because, well, Pierre was there, the conspiracy theorists, right?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's People are going to run rampant. I just want to know what actually happened.
Yeah. So I was like, why now? Oh, on the same weekend that he's out like hamming it up with, the community. Ooh, there it goes. So don't buy into that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
right? Don't buy into that kind of stuff. Don't go down that road. Those roads never lead to anywhere good, right? They lead to people saying things that make you think that you might be a little racisty. So,
Well, let's.
an avenue you don't want to go down.
I want to read something to you here that I find interesting, and I'm gonna add a word in here, okay? Because if I leave the word out, it's not good. India implicated in assassination of Canadian citizen. Fact. India dupes Canadian media into bullshit cocaine story on the Prime Minister's plane. Fact. Polyev allegedly installed by India. Allegedly was the word I added in there. Allegedly. Yes. Five Eyes confirm India involvement both in Canada and U.S.
Fact.
The RCMP implicates India in serious crimes in Canada. India withdraws envoy. There's only one thing there that's allegedly. Everything else is all facts. So look, none of this is good.
But see, that's the thing. That's why you have to say allegedly. It's because we know all this is going on, and we know that there are allegations of interference by India in the Conservative Party leadership race, probably disfavoring Patrick Brown, it would seem, which means
allegedly
favoring, right? Which would mean favoring Pierre Poilievre, because Patrick Brown was his strongest competition, if competition there ever was. These things are happening simultaneously. We do not yet publicly in any way have a link between them two. Now, it could just all be India interference.
Well, there's this still, right? Indian consulate interfered in CPC leadership race to hinder Patrick Brown campaign.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah. The Indian consulate lobbied at least one MP to retract their support for Brown and also barred Brown from attending Indian community events during the CPC leadership race.
And this way, we pointed out before how this was ironic because when Patrick Brown was running for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, he was trying to sell his very, very good long-term friendship with Modi.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened between them two somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Patrick Brown went from being like, who is this Canadian politician that has this relationship with the leader of the world's largest, in terms of numbers, democracy? Isn't this fascinating? To all of a sudden, he's barred from going to events.
Yeah,
there's a story there that nobody's digging on. How that came to be. I'd be very interested in knowing that. But right now, we do not have a link between those two stories. We just know that it's shady India. We also know. So, right? So, again, everybody might be, a lot of people might be thinking it, but until there's actually something, this is not the time to go out and stating opinions or speculation about there being a link to the two as fact. There's nothing out there that points to that yet. It's like, even though there's a lot of us that would not put it past him, but we can't say it yet, perhaps not ever. But right now, we can't say it. And that's one thing when you get into this kind of thing. A lot of people's like their imagination to go forward and start stating things as facts that are, for which there's not anything in evidence yet. It says, but it's so obvious that it has to be this, right? It's like, no.
Well, and it's some of the stuff being bandied about right now that I find fascinating is the Canadians coming to the aid to defend Polyev. And it's like,
we will get to that too.
Well, hang on. Listen to this. This is important. This is from Don Darling. Don Darling is just an individual online. He's a former mayor of St. John, New Brunswick.
Who
He
we
says-
will have on the show tomorrow. Actually.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. If you're aiming to be prime minister or leading an opposition party in Canada, you should be required by law to have the highest security clearance.
Yes.
No delays, no exceptions. Get it immediately. National security isn't negotiable. You want to lead, step up and get cleared. And of course, one of the bot farm for Polyev, and I am allegedly a member of the bot farm, responds immediately with, your uninformed but biased believing of Trudeau Liberals' remarks has nothing to do with the outrageous activity of Trudeau putting Canadians at risk. Polyev, as a cabinet minister, has security clearance. Maybe you should read before you write. To which I simply responded, he does not have NSICOP clearance. He has clearance to work on the Hill. So does the fucking janitor. It's minimal clearance to be on the Hill. Enhanced is all he needs to be in the building. Secret level 2 is to see things. Top secret is to see more things. And cosmic, which is what NSICOP is the highest level of security clearance in the country. He does not have, nor will he get. And it makes one wonder if he can get it. A lot of people say he can't. We don't know that. We don't know whether he can or he can't.
But we
he
know that he
refuses
won't.
to get it. He won't get it. He refuses
And that's
to.
not normal.
That's not normal.
That's
and
weird.
It's not right for the leader of the opposition.
And considering how hard he fought at the beginning to get this inquiry thing happen, which he's not cooperated with since it's been established, however, yes, you would think. So the inconsistent behavior here is rather telling. But there's a lot more people coming to his defense and running interference. I don't know if you saw it all, but we'll get to them too. Mr. Grizzly, the second clip from the thing with the RCMP. So these are little tidbits of information that were not in the announcement, but that reporters got from questions, and they tried. That adds a couple of extra layers, so that's why I'm presenting them to you.
Here we go. Just a second.
So Justin Ling, freelance. I'm wondering if you can tell me what the nexus might be to similar plots, either in the U.S., the UK, or further abroad. We know when these charges were first levied, there was a lot of speculation that this network may have ties to violence or extortion in other countries. Have you found that connection? Have you talked to your allies in the Five Eyes and elsewhere? And do you envision more collaboration between other intelligence services and this investigation?
Thanks, Justin, and I'll let Bridget respond, because we've had meetings with our FBI colleagues on this matter, and I'll let Bridget to provide you just a summary or maybe highlights of some of the commonalities.
Yeah, so foreign interference is a global issue, and we work and collaborate, and we have strong relationships with our Five Eyes partners to combat this threat. In relation to this matter specifically, as the commissioner said, we have met with our counterparts, we have shared information. There are some connections with threats in other countries. I'll remind you of the November 2023 U.S. indictment against Nikhil Gupta, which indicates that there was also a plot to kill individuals in Canada.
Justin, if I can add what we're seeing here, I doubt it very much if they have a different way of operating in different countries. I think the operation that they conduct in foreign countries is probably similar around the world.
Follow up, Justin?
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I hear you when you say that some of this may not result in criminal proceedings. I know obviously have been charges laid. Some of this may wind up in the foreign interference inquiry. But I'm wondering if you can envision how kind of the totality of this evidence will be eventually made public, if it will be at all. You referenced the Gupta indictment from the FBI that contains enormous detail about how these networks operate and what the threat looks like to that community in the U.S. That level of transparency hasn't happened here in Canada. Do you envision how that might be made public at some point, or will we just have to wait for the court proceedings to go ahead?
Well, yeah, thanks, Justin. And the level of transparency, I think one has to appreciate that the way the U.S. does it through an indictment, they actually provide all the information. Our judicial process is not set up that way. Individuals, when they're charged, have a right to a free trial, and the disclosure process occurs once the charges are laid and disclosures are made before the courts, and that's when the information becomes accessible. Because you'd question if you reverse it in our judicial system right now, what kind of a fair process would an accused get if we disclose all the information before the charge is laid? It's two different judicial processes that exists in two different countries. Bridget, did you want anything? Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you. We'll go next to Jaskaran Sandhu, please.
Good morning, Jaskaran Sandhu from Boz News. We just heard today that India is targeting using.
I was having issues on this end here.
All right. We'll play that question next anyway, Mr. Grizzly. So that's okay. Wanted to present that bit for you though, because that's a like yay civics moment, right? Well, the United States put out an indictment. What are we doing to press criminal charges? Our system is completely different because we have a different system of justice, different administration, different laws, different ways that laws is tried, is applied, is processed. So yeah, but if you're looking to that DOJ indictment and you have the commissioner of RCMP saying, I think their processes are pretty much similar wherever it is that they're doing this. 1 + 1 and that indictment was, as I mentioned, it's relatively detailed.
Very much so.
Yes. And if you remember in that American one, right, there was cross-border communication there. The target's here. Well, you have to get to Canada and you have to, right? So again, Prime Minister talked to Modi, got rebuffed, raised it in the House of Commons. Conservatives took the side of India, and you got to remember this.
As did all the post media newspaper chain as well.
The whole machine, the whole conservative machine took the side of India. Yes, that you got to put a pin in that, because in the response that Pierre put out yesterday that Mr. Grizzly raised, the last paragraph on that is very, very, very interesting as it relates to that little factoid. I'm trying to Rachel Maddow this to you. So it's coming. Then Australia backed us up. Then the United States came up with the indictment. Then we found out that there was some stuff going on in the UK as well. Then things kind of went quiet. Then we heard somewhere along the way that we weren't really getting more cooperation, but then things went a little quiet. Then the Prime Minister goes to the ASEAN summit. It's only the second time since all of this comes out that he's with Modi face to face, has a little pull aside. That does not go well. Then boom. And somewhere in there was the cocaine plane, which some people here bought because they were really eager and willing to believe because they hate him so much. Or they just want him out so much. And when you're asking why they want him out so much, I saw something the other day. I think it was another newspaper, reiterating how the Prime Minister of Canada is the most successful Prime Minister of a progressive nation at the current moment. And given this whole movement wants to pretty much take anything that's progressive and crush it under its heel, of course, he's the biggest global target right now. That's why everybody's involved. If he was just in his first or second year, it would be like this. But he's the dean. He's the most successful one. He did bring in the pharmacare and the child care and all those ideas that these people hate. He doesn't want anybody else in the world getting ideas. Look at Canada there. Maybe we should do some of that stuff Canada's doing. They don't want that example. They don't want an example somewhere that people can look to have seen at work. Well, he's got to go.
One of the things here that is troubling to me is, of course, the conservative wing, their entire machine is backing Modi as they continue to do so. But right now, a lot of what they're doing to back Modi is because, this threatens trade agreements. Oh, so commerce is more important than security of the nation and human lives. Okay, got it. Thanks for letting me know. This is why you don't want programs like dental care, pharmacare, child care, school lunch programs, etc., etc., etc. Because it's all about how much money can they put in their pockets. It's not about human beings. Never has been. Never has been.
Got Kent Down doing her best Samuel Jackson there. I'm tired of this motherfucking cocaine on this motherfucking plane. So, let's play the third clip here, Mr. Grizzly.
Talking about extortions, organized crime being used. We've within the community have seen that folks have been targeted in these incidents are not just people that are linked to the Khalistan movement or the Sikh self-determination movement. Are you able to share that the transnational repression occurring right now is going beyond just Sikhs connected to the Khalistan movement in some shape or form?
So just in order to preserve the integrity of the investigations that are being conducted by our police of jurisdiction partners, I won't be providing any further details in regards to the specificity of those investigations. But what we've seen is from an RCMP perspective is the use of organized crime elements. And I will say and it's been publicly attributed and claimed by one organized crime group in particular, which is the Bishnoi group. So that's what we're seeing here in Canada. And we believe that group is connected to agents of the government of India.
Thank you. Pour notre prochaine question, Mélanie Marquis, s'il vous plaît.
All right. So there you go. So somebody asked them another question. They said they believe that there's more than one of these organizations or group, but that's the only one that they're going to name because they're already public with regard to the Ajit Singh Nijjar assassination. Mm-hmm. So their name is already known. There's one final clip, Mr. Grizzly, that I had noted more, but I'd put a star against the most important one. So I'm just going to jump right to it. Because some of the tidbits were just interesting things to know, and then there was other things that was like, these are things that you need to know if you want to understand the story so that other people can't pull the wool over your eyes. Let's see what we have here. Diplomatic immunity wouldn't allow any foreign entities to approach, never mind board a craft, said Mohan Prasad. Yeah, Kit Mohan. Yeah. Indeed.
My question, I'm wondering what you can tell us about the organized crime groups that were involved here. I know in the past Iran has tried to recruit the Hells Angels. Was this a particular organized crime group?
That's actually true. A lot of people didn't know that. Iran tried to recruit the Hells Angels.
Were there multiple organized crime groups? What level and sophistication of organized crime have you seen, and to what degree has this been integrated into your murder and violent extortion investigations?
Thank you, Mercedes. As there's ongoing investigations and prosecutions, I won't go into a lot of detail, but what I can tell you is that we've seen a number of criminal organizations that have been involved in the various criminal activity. I mentioned previously the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, which is a gang that's involved in extortions and narcotics originating from India. That group has claimed responsibility for certain activity that was in the public, but there's also other groups which I will refrain from naming at this time.
Follow-up, Mercedes?
Thanks. Yeah, in terms of a follow-up, how would you characterize the significance of this threat to national security that you allegedly had people working in an embassy under the cover of diplomatic immunity that are linked to murders and violent acts in Canada? And what happens when India tries to send more people here? What involvement will there be in terms of the RCMP in clearing who those individuals are and whether or not you are satisfied they're not connected to RAW?
So, Mercedes, it's extremely concerning from my part, from what I've seen from last couple of years. I think that the RCMP, along with its security partners such as CSIS and CSE and CBSA and everyone you can think of, GAC, We must ensure that we continue to work together, make sure that the flow of information is shared with the people who need the information. And we can't, I'm not quite sure of all the diplomatic rules as to can you prevent someone from coming in the country if you have something on the individual. That would be better asked to the Government Affairs of Canada of if there is a vetting process when someone comes to Canada as an ambassador or high commissioner. I'm completely unaware of the process for that.
Thank you.
If I may add, it is extremely concerning. I mean, Indian diplomats and consular officials are here to protect the interests of their nationals that are based in Canada and their country's national interests as well, and not to be part of criminal activity or intimidation or coercion of these individuals. So we take that very seriously. That is, without a doubt, a contravention of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, but also it goes against Canada's values as a society.
Voilà qui met fin à la séance d'information.
There you go. So I liked that little bit at the end, just making sure it's like, yeah, we do have this thing called the Vienna Convention, and so, but even if we didn't, we have certain values as a society.
Mhm.
That we don't play that. So
We got to wrap soon. I got a meeting at 8:30, and I got to get Lola out.
oh,
I had sent you a
okay.
message earlier. I guess you didn't get it.
I did not get it.
Mm.
Okay, then
We'll just read
Well,
the release.
skip
from
over
the-
the Prime Minister's response then.
No, we can get to that tomorrow. We can let's read the statement from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre that was released on Tim Uppal's Twitter. He didn't even release it on his own feed, and I'll read it to you for those of you who've not heard it. It's all about him. Leader of the Opposition, statement from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, October 14th, 2024, for immediate release. Ottawa, Ontario. The Honourable Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada and the official opposition, released the following statement. The news and allegations today from the RCMP are extremely concerning and must be taken very seriously. Any foreign interference from any country, including India, is unacceptable and must be stopped. Our government's first job is to keep our citizens safe from foreign threats. We expect the full prosecution of anyone and everyone who has threatened, murdered, or otherwise harmed Canadian citizens. And that's where it should have ended. But no, he has to add in a final paragraph. For 9 years, the Liberal government has failed to keep our people safe or to take national security and foreign interference seriously. Because of that, Canada has become a playground for these activities.
These activities that you may allegedly be involved in?
Yeah, those ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. It is particularly rich considering the initial reaction of the Conservative government to the allegations being made in the House of Commons, to them now saying that the Prime Minister has not kept Canadians safe for years. And never mind that, but we had this little thing called a pandemic, and we had one of the lowest pandemic death rates in the world.
Yes.
But he doesn't keep us safe.
Yeah.
We have pretty much an ideal soft landing out of it, and very few people lost their homes as a result of it because he kept us whole, but he doesn't keep us safe. You sided with India, but now you're going to come up and add this last little paragraph like you care, like you were on Team Canada all along.
The other thing I've noticed that his supporters do frequently is they always go back to, and I'm not even going to go on the blackface stuff. They always show the picture of him when he was in India in traditional Indian garb. I'm like, but Poilievre does that all the time, and so did Stephen Harper. But don't don't piss on me and tell me it's raining, man. I know better.
Right? I just...
Hypocrites to the nth degree. To the nth degree.
And the other person that got in on this, and he seemed to have been the first one out leading the charge here, was, of course, from the National Post. Again, Mr. John Iveson,
Hmm.
who I'm going to start calling Russian John because, oh my God, the way that he is just so in the back. I mean, it does not match with this guy. Like with Andrew Coyne, I get upset with him because he is so bang on one day
And then
and
so far
so
off the next.
off another day. Like today, he posted something like X number of Canadian men between 18 to 34 would vote for Trump. X number like this. Oh my God, I can't believe this. It's like, really, with everything that you've brought to the potluck over the last 8 years, now you're going to act surprised? Buddy, you really don't understand how people really. You have the most successful progressive prime minister. And you keep on talking smack about him every chance you freaking get, with rare few exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder how men, given you are one, would be more in favor of something different than what we've got. Dude.
It's insane.
But John Iveson, oh my God. Again, I don't know if you saw this.
I did. We just don't have time for it today, unfortunately.
Here it is. If you would.
How the hell is Canada in a diplomatic war with India, which should be a democratic ally? New Delhi accuses the Trudeau government of an anti-Indus separatist agenda and is threatening further steps against Canada. The Biden administration has dealt with similar concerns about India's action on their soil quietly and more adeptly.
They released an indictment that went all around the world. How is that more quietly? Dude. Because which should be a democratic ally? Oh, yes, because India says it is a democracy. Now, it has been, but it's become a whole lot less of one since this guy decided that anything that, that was done during the Gandhi era has to be like torn up, blown up in smoke, and that there's like one religion that must be crushed and one that must be superior. Okay. And they're doing all these little things. And I guess because they are other English-speaking nation that is a democracy, then we should automatically assume that they're on our side. Just because we have similar systems of government doesn't necessarily mean we're on the same team, and doesn't obligate us to like, well, gee, we should really do this more quietly. And nobody on U.S. soil got killed.
That's the other big thing.
There is a material difference between our situations, buddy. Like, what is wrong with this? Look at all this, all that massaging and shaping with India, which should be a democratic ally. Well, it's not because we did anything. They killed someone allegedly on our soil. That's not allyship. That's not friendship. I don't know. Like, he's so far off on the starting premise, and then he starts from there. And if the starting premise is wrong, then the conclusion necessarily has to be wrong. Aristotelian logic. It's like, he starts with that. That's just so far off, and then he like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But first out, and that statement that Pierre Poilievre released, well, it first came out from the two feeds of the two people in his cabinet who happen to wear turbans. And then eventually that got pointed out, so then Michael Chong did it too.
Yeah.
I haven't checked yet to see if anybody who looks a little more like Mr. Grizzly has put it out yet. But it very much reminds me of when Pierre issued that denunciation on Christine Anderson, which came through Brian Lilly.
Yeah.
But at least this one he put it on letterhead, because the other one he didn't. But it is nowhere on his Twitter feed. It is nowhere on Sarah Fisher, the Director of Communications Twitter feed. And it was nowhere on the party's Twitter feed. So this is a guy that's trying to send a message to Canadians that he stands against it, but is trying to do it in a manner that's so discreet that he hopes that Modi doesn't see it because he doesn't want the same treatment that Modi reserved for Trudeau.
How soon before we see him jump in a white Bronco and drive down the highway? That's an old pop culture reference if you haven't got it.
Like, and this guy wants to lead. Listen, if I were the prime minister right now, this is what I'd do. Because this little fucker needs to be cornered. Pardon my language.
No,
the Luck
it's
leader is getting his NSCOP security clearance.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got it yet, but he's applied. The Green leader has. The leader of the NDP has. And apparently he's
leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition does not have his NSCOP clearance.
And apparently Mr. Singh is going to have some comments around 11 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to be very interested because apparently he's been briefed on all of this before it happened because he has that clearance.
So well, that's why I said when he back when he tore up the thing, I go, does he know something that he's not telling us?
Well, this is why I'm wondering now. Is like if everybody that's saying somebody knows something, then this is why. So, but he's going to talk about that. So, if all of them got their clearance, how difficult would it be for the prime minister himself to table a bill in the House as soon as they get rid of, as soon as they handle this motion of privilege with which the Conservatives are holding up all business in the House, of course. But once that goes through, table that bill, pass it very quickly, and we know we can pass it very quickly because we saw it when they had the COVID supports. How quickly? Pass it very quickly. That says that a leader of political party must have their NSCOP level security clearance. And then, if he tries to make a big stink of it, prorogue Parliament.
Yes, which is a rumor right now.
No, but now they're saying that, like, he's going to try to save it. Prorogue Parliament because you, as the leader of this country, will not permit a federal election unless all the party leaders do have that security clearance. And then let's see if Pierre sits for it, and if he does, whether he obtains it or not. You can't prorogue to save your own government. That looks terrible. But if you have all the other leaders and saying, yeah, you need to get this, and so that you don't like trigger an election before this happens, we're going to prorogue Parliament. We'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Get your clearance. Corner the fucker.
Yeah, basically.
That's what I would do.
I think it's what we should do.
It is what we should do. Play hardball. Just be better at it than he is. It's time to stop with kid glove treatment with this guy. He is not normal.
No, he is not. I really have to go.
All right. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouths from which we want the word to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you don't want to miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, because she sponsors our pod page. That QR code right there under my chin will bring you there. And if you're listening, it's podpage.com. True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. Click subscribe. We come directly to you. If you want to help us another way, then you surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media YouTube page at the urging of Kit Elaine, of course. And then you smash with our buttons like, share, subscribe. It makes us happy when you do. Thank you so very much. And if you scan that QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head right there, that'll bring you to our tip jar, which is our coffee page. Coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And if you like our product and would like to encourage us to do more, leave us a little financial contribution there. We are very grateful for everything that you can give. But if you can't give anything, that's quite all right, because the gift of your participation and attention is the one we cherish most. And we'd love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Please write to us there. Send us some Thanksgiving yum-yum photos if you have it. I would love to see all of your feasts if you happen to have some photos. Let's see, what else do we have here? And let us know if we have permission to show them, of course. If you want to keep them private, that's fine as well. And what else do we have? Yes, you can write to us on our Twitter feed, True Eager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or if you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment right down. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please leave us some stars and reviews. We are grateful for all the help. And if you can, retweet us, share us if you're on Facebook, write a little comment about what it is you think about the show. That means a lot. Big shout out to Sean. Thank you for everything that you did over the weekend. It means a lot to us. Because democracy is something that you do 4 days until voting day in British Columbia, I think it is. Yes, 6 until in New Brunswick, and a week and then some until Saskatchewan. This week we will have 2 guests with us. Tomorrow we will have Mr. Don Darling that Mr. Grizzly was talking about earlier, former mayor of St. John. Sorry. Yeah, you have to be careful in Canada with that one. St. John, who will
upsets people.
Oh yeah, you could start a war with that. So he'll be on the show talking to us about the New Brunswick election and other thoughts as we close in, and then we will have someone that we've been trying to get on the show for a long time, Gail Costello, who is an educator in New Brunswick. And was very, very active when the whole thing with Project 713 was going on. And she was so busy for a while that she couldn't be with us, but now she can. So we will have them. So we will have 2 days of Focus New Brunswick this week. And hopefully Friday, if we can. I happen to know one of the contestants on this season's the Great Canadian Baking Show.
Oh, cool.
So we might have him on. Yes,
Cool.
but we'll have to find a time to pre-record that, Mr. Grizzly.
Okay. I really got to go.
Right.
I got to go right
Yep.
now. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.